So here are the steps that we follow for finding absolute min and absolute maximum values of a function. The first thing is we find the critical numbers for f using the derivative. F prime of x is equal to 0, or f prime of x is undefined. Find the value of f at those critical numbers. Find the values of f at the endpoints of the interval, because remember, it can happen at the endpoints instead of at the critical numbers. And then the largest value from step 2 and 3 is the absolute maximum. And the smallest value is the absolute minimum. So it could be at the critical number or it could be at the endpoint. So let's try this. Step 1. We need to find what those critical numbers are. So if f of x is equal to 2x cubed minus 3x squared minus 36x plus 14, then that means that f prime of x is equal to 6x squared minus 6x minus 36. I'm going to replace that f prime of x with 0. And then I'm going to factor 6x squared minus x minus 6, or 0 is equal to 6x minus 3 x plus 2, which means that the critical numbers are at x is equal to 3 and x is equal to -2. Step 2, we're going to take those critical numbers and we're going to solve for what the y values are or the f values are. So we're going to say, using the original function, f at 3 is going to equal 2 times 3 cubed minus 3 times 3 squared minus 36 times 3 plus 14. And when I plug that all in, I get -67. Or f of -2 is going to equal 2 times -2 cubed minus 3 times -2 squared minus 36 times -2 plus 14, which is going to give me 58. So I have the point of 3 and -67. I have the point of -2 and 58. Then I'm also going to solve it using the endpoints. It says that it's on an interval of -4 to 5, so the endpoints are going to be at -4 and at 5. And I'm going to solve what those points are as well. So I'm going to say that I have 2 times -4 cubed minus 3 times -4 squared minus 36 times -4 plus 14, and I'm going to get -18. Or I can take 2 times 5 cubed minus 3 times 5 squared minus 36 times 5 plus 14, and that's going to give me 9. And I'm going to wind up with the points of -4 and -18. And I'm going to wind up with the point of 5 and 9. And all I need to do from this is I'm looking for what is the absolute biggest and absolute smallest y value I got from these 4 points. Well, the biggest y value is 58. The smallest y value is -67, which means that this is the absolute min, and this is the absolute max. Therefore, the absolute maximum value is 58, and the absolute minimum value is at -67. All right, for example 5, it says find the absolute maximum and minimum values for g of x is equal to x to the power of 2 over 3 times x plus 5 on the interval of -6 to 1. So the first thing, we're going to take the derivative to solve the critical numbers. And so because it's product rule, I'm going to take x to the 2 over 3 times the derivative of x plus 5, which is just 1, plus x plus 5 times the derivative of x to the 2 over 3, which is 2 over 3x to the -1/3. This is going to give me x to the 2 over 3 plus 2 over 3x to the -1/3 times x plus 5. I'm going to factor out that 1/3. I'm going to factor out the negative exponent, x to the -1/3. And when I do that, I'm going to be left with 3x and 2 x plus 5s, or 1/3 x to the -1/3 and 5x plus 10. I'm going to factor out a 5 and be left with x plus 2. And in the denominator, I have the 3, and the x to the -1/3 is going to become the cube root of x down in that denominator. Now, for the critical numbers, I'm going to pull from the numerator, where 5 times x plus 2 is equal to 0, which means that x would equal -2. And from the denominator, where if I have 3 and the cube root of x is equal to 0, then x is going to equal 0. Therefore, the critical numbers are going to be x is equal to 0 and x is equal to -2. Now remembering that this would be when f prime of x is equal to 0, and this, because it's from the denominator, is when f prime of x does not exist. We're going to take that and we're going to solve for the y values at those critical numbers. So I'm going to say that I have g of -2 is equal to -2 to the 2 over 3 times -2 plus 5, and that's going to give me the cube root of -2 squared is 4, multiplied by -2 plus 5 is 3, or 3 and the cube root of 4, which is approximately 4.76. Now, I want this approximation because that's going to help me figure out my minimum or maximum. I can also take g of 0 is going to equal 0 to the power of 2 over 3 times 0 plus 5. Well, 0 to the power of anything is just 0 times anything else is still just going to be 0. If I take the endpoints, then I'm going to have from the endpoints -6 and 1. G of -6 is equal to -6 to the power of 2 over 3 times -6 plus 5, which is going to give me the cube root of -6 squared is 36, and -6 plus 5 is going to be -1, which is going to be the negative cube root of 36, which is approximately -3.33. Or if I take 1, the other endpoint, g of 1 is going to equal (1) to the power of 2 over 3 times 1 plus 5. 1 to the power of 2 over 3 is just 1, and 1 plus 5 is 6, and that's going to give me 6. Which means that I'm going to have the points of -2 and 3 and the cube root of 4, 0 and 0, -6 and the negative cube root of 36, and 1 and 6. When I'm looking for those absolute mins and absolute maxes, I'm going to look at the actual numbers or the approximations to help me with that. And the smallest number I see here of the 4.76, 0, -3.33, and 6 is going to be that -3.33. And the largest number is going to be the 6, which means that here I have my absolute minimum, and here I have my absolute maximum. And then I'm just going to do my statement. Absolute maximum value is 6. Absolute minimum value is the negative cube root of 36.